Yeah,
opinion.
is
This
there
is not an opinion.
so I have a question for you. Is this a meta-analysis or isn't it?
Yes.
It is. Can you show me where it's a meta-analysis?
Oh, I can't even scroll on this. But what do you mean? It depends. What do you mean by meta-analysis? Do you mean that it's looking at the analyses of a lot of other studies?
No. Listen. Inside of sociology, there's a huge problem with replication of studies. Okay, it's called the replication crisis. It affects.
Yes, I've heard of
Hang on, it affects all forms of science, but sociology is particularly infected by it. So one of the ways that they're able to kind of push back a little bit against the fact that almost 50% of all sociological studies can't be replicated, which means that they probably have terrible results, is by having what's called a meta-analysis done, which is where they take all of the studies inside of that field and then they're analyzed by a whole bunch of scientists in order to figure out what's good or not.
That is
Well,
what
then
this is.
show
That's
me
how it
where
got
it
published.
says that it's a meta-analysis.
The fact that it's peer-reviewed and it has
Peer
all
review
of
doesn't
these,
mean anything.
But when it's looking at all of, so they're looking at the field and all the social research we have on secularism versus atheism.
Yeah, that's not a meta-analysis. That doesn't mean it's a meta-analysis.
Okay, well, even if it's not a meta-analysis, can you please tell me how this is wrong? All of this that it used, which all of this comes from other reputable, respectable, real sources, and it's giving you stats.
Because I'm trying to, I just tried to explain it to you. I'll explain it to you again.
You're refuting this paper. You're refuting the paper based on what?
I'm not. Well, first of all, before I'm trying to explain it to you. If you are able to concede this point, which you can look it up right now, and I'll give you the time to look it up, that sociology has a huge problem with replication of results, which it does, has a massive problem with it, then kind of the offset to that is what's called a meta-analysis. Okay, that way we know that the data that we're looking at is okay enough for us to at least examine so that we can understand that we're not coming to false views based on the fact that these people are just credentialized. So is this a meta-analysis or isn't it?
Okay, if it's not a meta-analysis, then are you saying, because this is the thing, there are some stats that are very easy. So sociology, I get what you're saying, but where you're wrong is that certain things in sociology are harder to get. It's harder to get that information than others. The murder rate is not a difficult one to get.
It could be, depending on the criteria of what they consider murder to be. That's why it's important that we know the methodology.
And look it up and refute it then.
Well, how can I? It's your burden. It's your burden, not mine. So tell me how they what are the metrics they use for murder?
Okay, let's look at the reference and then let's look at that paper, because this is just referencing a bunch of studies. So let's do it then. Let's go for it. If you want to do this, let's do this. All right,
guys, real quick. I kind of skimmed through this as we were going through it. It seems that on certain points it supports secularism, and other points it supports religion. Like
I thought it was an opinion persuasive piece. I guess not then.
Well, I thought it was a study in a meta-analysis 5 minutes ago.
For example,
you said I'm going with what you said.
What the fuck?
Okay, let's see it. Let's see.
How insane is this chick? I can't even believe this.
Okay, let's see.
Wait, real quick. So for some things, like for example, murder rate seems to point that, hey, secularism works better. But for other things, like for example, happiness, it seems to say, hey, religion works better.
I agree. But he's saying that the murder rates could be wrong. So he wants to go through. Let's find the study they cited and let's go through.
Well, I mean, if this is your is your evidence, we have to first define murder, then we have to look at the metrics for how they're kind of assigning that. And so usually you find that in a controlled study under methodology. So I did see.
So let's see.
By the way, guys, 10
Jensen,
minute warning before we move on to the next topic.
So actually this is in a lot of studies. So there's unless these are all from the same, which I don't think there's not. Yeah, no, they're all different years. So there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 studies that we can go through, and I have time. Let's go through all 4. If you're saying these are all just wrong and this is just an incorrect thing, then let's see Jensen 2006. Let's go down and let's copy and paste it and let's go through it. Let's go through all of them. Why not?
Let's just do 1 or 2.
Okay. So does this still share the screen if I open in another tab, the study?
Most likely, but I'll tell you once you do.
So here we go. Religious cosmologies and homicide rates among nations. How do I copy this? Okay, I'm just going to search it. Jensen 2006. paper called again? Homicide. Great Nation. Okay, here we go.
Okay, so yeah, it's not shared, so you have to share the other screen.
Okay.
I'll just remove this one.
So
it'll be easier for you to share the other one.
All right, let me make sure we can open it.
So you're not, so Jazmen, I just want to make sure that I get this clarified. You're not actually familiar with any of the studies that are inside of this paper, nor are you actually familiar with the paper, but you did bring it to debate over. Is that correct?
I am familiar with the paper. That's why I knew when it comes with happiness, I did read the entire paper. Now, I didn't go through and check every source because when I'm looking at a peer-reviewed paper that's been published and it's giving me
let's find out if you're telling the truth. Let's find out if you're telling the truth. Close your eyes and put your hands up like this. Close your eyes, put your hands up like this. We'll determine if you're telling the truth. I'm
not doing that.
No? Can you can't, I don't believe that if you closed your eyes, put your hands up, you could even tell me what one of the sources is. I don't even believe it. I don't think you've read any of these sources, and yet you still brought it to a debate.
There is one of the ones I was going to look at was the one that starts with, let me see it.
You don't know. You don't know any of them. You don't know any of the sources. You don't know anything. Why did you bring this to a debate? You haven't even read it.
As a researcher, because I don't remember the name.
You haven't even read it.
Of every single stat that I have, then none of it's valid. SureCat, this is the one I'm talking about. SureCat is, and there was a bunch of it. 2003, 2006, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, now that you're reading it verbatim.
I remembered it. I said it starts with an S. I didn't remember the term SureCat because I didn't prepare for this for 2,000 hours, but I did read it. I remember being like, okay, SureCat seems like he's done, or the one that starts with S seems like he's done a lot.
So you haven't read these primary. Jazmen.
Just because you don't memorize all of the names.
You didn't even understand the context of the paper.
That the paper is not legitimate.
You didn't even understand the context of the paper.
This is as valid of a source
as
you can get.
Keep screeching.
It's Free. Yeah. Okay, you talk louder. Yeah, we can do this all day.
All you're doing is reading.
50-something-year-old man. It doesn't look as stupid for me to come play this shit online.
You have not. I mean, you're a prostitute. What do you mean? You can't make any bad claims about what I do online.
You're sitting here of all the things that you could.
You would hump your sister for money. Like, what are you talking about? How could you possibly make any claims against me?
You're sitting here. And you're sitting here of all the things you could be doing, of all the people you could be doing. You're sitting here having a debate.
You requested the debate. I didn't reach out for a debate with you. I didn't reach out for a debate with you.
To be fair, I was actually the one that suggested this debate.
So then on top of that, again, you're diverting. Again, all you're doing here, again and again and again, same thing over and over. You haven't read any of the sources. You're not familiar with the paper. You couldn't tell me the methodologies. You can't tell me anything.
Read all these? I can
tell
you right now.
You didn't read any of it.
I read the
You're wasting everybody's time.
I knew that, and I know when
all you're doing is wasting our time.
Academic paper. All of the citations are here. I remembered that this guy, SureCat, even though I didn't remember it was actually SureCat.
Screech louder. Keep screeching.
What do you mean?
All you're doing is reading.
You did not prove your point in the slide.
You brought evidence.
Every single one
you brought evidence. You brought evidence to a debate you hadn't even read.